Washington, I went out to Guam and worked for Interpron.
You were still in the service.
I was still in the service.
Yeah, you said after you got out.
Well, after I
straighten that up.
After I got out of school, I went to photo interpreter and aerial photography in Guam, and I was there for about 3 or 4 months, and the war ended.
That was at the end of his. He's explained this that he when we got married, he didn't think he'd have to go back overseas because he had been reassigned to this school from his the Intrepid, and then he went to school.
I got through school.
He didn't want to come home.
I was the first one out. I had orders a week delay en route going to the Pacific, and I had priority orders from San Francisco out to Hawaii for further orders from Pacific Ocean, chief of Pacific Ocean area. Anyway, I got to San Francisco, and I'm sitting in the St. Francis Hotel waiting to get the priority orders on the light. And
it's okay.
You have to have that on.
No, you don't.
Anyway, they called my name, and I had a trip on the China Clipper, which is this big sailboat that flew overnight from San Francisco to Hawaii, and I think there were 7 stories in it, and they were hauling a bunch of nurses, so we had to sit in the lounge. The nurse had all the bedrooms, but I got up early in the morning, went up on the flight deck while we were still flying, and the flight deck was a long area up where the pilots were, and there were bunks up there for them, pilots and the engineers, and they had to scuttle down through the wings so they could go in and repair the engines underway. It was a big airplane. It was just an amazing thing, and we got there about 8 o'clock the next morning. I reported in, and the guy said, what do you want to do? And he said, I've got a real nice ship coming out, aircraft carrier. I said, yeah, it's the Intrepid. When we left Red Oak, and I was going to San Francisco, we went to Omaha to catch the flight. Who gets off the airplane but my roommate on the Intrepid? He had been out, been hit again. He had been back home on leave, and he was going back to the ship. I said, yeah, it's the ship. I said, I spent 18 months on her. I don't care to go back. And he said, okay. He said, we got 2 island spots for you, Guam and Okinawa. And I said, let's go to Okinawa. No, you don't want to go to Okinawa. He said, they're still fighting out there. And he said, that's just not a very good place to go. He says, Guam's a lot safer, and you'd have a better time on Guam. And I said, okay, cut my orders for Guam. Oh, he said, you familiar with Honolulu? And I said, I've been here several times. And he said, well, why don't you take a week off and then come back in, and I'll cut your orders whenever you want to go. And I had priority orders on. I thought, boy, they really needed me. So I about a day out there, 2 days at the most, and I was just utterly bored. So I went in and I said, I cut my orders. So they cut my orders, so flying me from Honolulu to Guam. And the first thing you did is land on Johnson Island. And from the air, Johnson Island didn't look any bigger than this table. Just runway, that was all it was. And we sat on bucket seats along the side of the airplane. And then in the center of the airplane, there was all ammunition and stuff like that, so we couldn't smoke. If we wanted to smoke, we had to go up to the flight deck. They closed the door and where the pilots were and the engineers. And so I had a cigarette. He said I had to smoke. I went up there and I looked. No pilot, no co-pilot. They were both in the bunks. It was on automatic pilot, and the engineer was sitting there watching the controls. Oh, brother, what a deal. And we landed at Tarawa and then at Guam, and it was a pretty good flight. Then I went to work for...
Grandma, do you want some help?
I think I did it. Thank you.
Good.
I got it all over, so I get
Am I talking too much?
No, you're fine.
You're doing fine. You're going down in history. As long as the computer works.
Yeah.
Anyway, after that, working on Guam, what I did in Guam was...
Thank you, Catherine.
At midnight, I'd go in, and the Army would fly over the Empire and anything where the Japanese were, and they'd come in with photographs, and there were about was about like this on big spools. And I put them on a scanning table and crank them. If I saw something that looked interesting for the Navy, I mean, any ship movement or any airplane movement or anything like that, I would mark the picture, and then they would print it out for me, and I would take it back to the base, and then if it considered airports, I and another fellow were involved. It was shipping. We had another fellow. We had bombing someplace else. We had another group that come in, and we'd call them out at midnight to 1 o'clock in the morning. They'd work this out, and then we'd get a message out to the fleet by 2 o'clock, what they could expect, where they could go, what they could find, from the latest photographs. And so that was what I ended up in. I didn't have too much to do in the daytime unless there were new reports on airports and things that we had to write up. So I got to play on the beach and sack out, and then go back to work about midnight or a little before when the flights had come in, and it was a good job. And then when the war ended, they asked for volunteers to go up to Japan to work for the United States Strategic Bombing Survey. Well, I didn't have quite enough points to get out, and I thought, well, I'll never travel in this life. I might as well go see Japan because I'll never see it again. So I volunteered, and Bill Fisher and I went up and worked up there. And what we did, went out to the airports and to verify what we found with ground information with what we saw from aerial information. And when I left Guam, I bought a little suitcase carry-on, held about 6 bottles of whiskey. I thought, boy, those soldiers up there in Japan are going to be thirsty. I want to make some money on this. And you could buy a bottle of what we call Shenley's Black Death for 98 cents at the Officers Club, and Seagram's VO was $1.25 a bottle, and I thought, boy, I can get $3-4 for this. I'm going to make some money. I got up there, and the Japanese had come out with a Suntory Scotch, especially blended for the occupational forces for $1 a full quart, and it was good. I couldn't even give my stuff away. So I should have told that to Martin when he got into the wine business. Then we worked up and down the east coast of Japan, not too far. Got up to Kasamagura, and we'd take the K rations with us, so we'd have lunch. And we wore Army uniforms with our Navy shoulder pads on so they could tell our rank and that we were Navy, not Army. And then we had winter clothes because we had just shorts on Guam. We didn't have any heavy uniforms at all. And it was kind of interesting. Bill and I were out one noon, and we always had an interpreter and a photographer with us. So when we're eating lunch, we opened up our K rations and we're eating them, and this Japanese came along and saw Bill's heavy coat, winter coat, and he wanted that coat. And he offered to give Bill his daughter for that coat. That's right.
Really?
I think that's true.
Huh?
Yeah, I'm sure that's true.
Yeah, that's true.
That's
One fellow there came back. In Japan, I lived on board ship,